juice, the sweet nectar that comes in endless flavors and is always ready to greet us from shelves in neat little bottles. But have you ever wondered how it all happens? How does the fruit you see hanging on trees become that delicious juice you pour into a glass? Let's dive into the process that takes fruit from the farm to the factory floor, eventually squeezing out every drop of liquid sunshine. Harvesting the fruit. The journey of juice begins where all fruit starts its life, on a farm. Whether we're talking about apples, oranges, or just about any juice-bearing fruit, harvest season kicks off the chain reaction. Now, most of this process is still surprisingly hands-on, despite all our advances in technology. For instance, oranges and apples, often the stars of the juice aisle, are typically harvested by hand to prevent bruising or damage. But in other cases, like apples, mechanical harvesters are sometimes used to speed things up. They cue the massive tree with shaking machines that send apples tumbling to the ground, with little mercy, but plenty of efficiency. Different fruits, of course, have different schedules. Apples are usually ripe for the picking in September through November, while oranges enjoy the spotlight from November through to the spring. Regardless of the fruit or the season, time is money, so farmers work quickly to ensure that fresh fruit makes it to the next stage as soon as possible. Delays mean spoilage, and no one wants that. Initial cleaning and sorting. Once harvested, the fruit is rushed to the processing facility in a convoy of trucks. Whether the fruit is apples, oranges, or any other juice-worthy specimen, the first stop is the wash station. And we're not talking a gentle rinse. No, these fruits are scrubbed down with the ferocity of a car wash, only instead of a soapy sponge. It's more like an army of nylon brushes and conveyor belts, all lathered up in a mild detergent solution. It's an industrial-scale bath designed to get rid of dirt, dust, pesticides, and whatever else has latched onto the fruit during its stay in the orchard. After their spa treatment, the fruits face their first hurdle: inspection. Every piece of fruit is examined to weed out the bad ones, pun intended. Anything too damaged, bruised, or questionable is discarded, because just one rogue piece of rotten fruit could turn an entire batch of juice into a disaster. The workers grade the fruit based on size, color, and overall quality, making sure only the A-list produce makes it through. Disinfection and final wash. Once sorted, the fruit is treated to a disinfection process. We're talking about a more serious cleanse here, one that gets rid of bacteria, fungi, and other invisible nasties that might be lurking on the skin. This often involves rinsing the fruit in a chlorine solution or other disinfectants. After all, nobody wants a side of pathogens with their juice. After disinfection, it's back through another round of washing to ensure every trace of the cleaning agents is rinsed off. From here, the fruit gets a quick drying session. And yes, the drying fans look like something straight out of a wind tunnel test for fighter jets, but they do the trick of getting rid of excess moisture. After all, the goal is to extract juice, not dilute it with leftover rinse water. Peeling, slicing, and dicing. Next up, the real transformation begins. Depending on the fruit, this is where the skins, cores, and other inedible bits get stripped away. Some fruits, like apples, go through machines equipped with razor-sharp blades that peel away the skin, ensuring a smoother, more flavorful juice. Nobody wants gritty juice, and that's exactly what unpeeled apples can lead to. Oranges, meanwhile, have their rinds removed by metal teeth or other automated peelers that make quick work of the thick outer layers. For fruits that don't need peeling, like berries or grapes, this step is skipped. Lucky them. But for the vast majority, skin removal is essential to keep the final juice tasting clean and smooth. With skins and peels discarded, often for compost or energy production, it's time to break the fruit down further. Crushing and mashing. Now comes the fun part, the crushing. Whether it's a hydraulic press, squeezing every drop from an orange, or a crusher with blades spinning at high speed, pulverizing apples into a mash, this is where the magic starts. The fruit is reduced to a puree, with every juicy cell torn apart to release its precious contents. For some fruits, an enzyme may be added at this stage to help break down the cell walls. This ensures maximum juice yield, because if there's one thing juice factories are serious about, it's efficiency. The more juice that can be squeezed from every piece of fruit, the better. After all, we're talking about production on a massive scale, and wasting even a tiny percentage of the juice could mean losing thousands of liters by the end of the day. Depending on the factory's setup, this step might take place in huge tanks, with the fruit mash pumped through pipes and moved along conveyor belts to ensure smooth flow in and out of presses and crushers. It's all done in high gear. There's no time for fruit to just lounge around. Juice extraction. Finally, after all the washing, sorting, peeling, and mashing, the fruits arrive at the juice extraction stage. This is the core of the process, the moment all the effort has been building toward. For oranges, this usually means a mechanical press squeezes each fruit between two metal plates. As the orange is flattened, the juice is released, filtering out seeds and excess pulp. For apples, the mash is pushed through hydraulic presses, which apply immense pressure to force every drop of juice out of the puree. Leftover solids like skins, seeds, and stems get filtered out, while the juice flows into giant vats. Different fruits call for different kinds of presses, but the concept is the same. Press hard, squeeze out everything you can, and leave the solid waste behind. Some fruits, like pineapples or grapes, have their juice extracted by different methods, like screw presses or centrifuges. But it all comes down to the same goal: get that juice. Pre-filtration holding. After the juice is extracted, it's still a bit of a mess. There are small particles, bits of pulp, and suspended solids floating around that need to be dealt with before the juice can be filtered, pasteurized, and bottled. At this stage, the freshly squeezed juice is pumped into large storage tanks to rest briefly before further processing. It's not ready for prime time just yet, but it's getting close. Filtration and pulp control. First up, filtration. Factories use high-tech filtration systems to remove any leftover bits of fruit that managed to slip through the juicing process. This is where things get precise, with different juice brands using various levels of filtration depending on how much pulp they want to keep in the final product. The filtration process usually involves passing the juice through a series of increasingly fine mesh screens or centrifuges, separating out the solids and sending them off to be used for other purposes, like animal feed or biofuel. In some cases, an additional process called clarification is used to remove even the smallest particles, ensuring that the juice is perfectly clear. Want pulp-free juice? It's filtered more heavily to remove every trace of the fibrous stuff. Prefer a bit of texture in your juice? They'll dial back the filtration to leave in just enough pulp to give it that satisfying mouthfeel. This is where juice companies make those crucial decisions that define whether you'll be swigging a smooth drink or chewing your way through a pulpy one. You know the debate: pasteurization. After filtration, we get to one of the most important stages: pasteurization. This is where heat steps in to save the day, killing off any bacteria, yeast, or other microbes that could spoil the juice. In most juice factories, pasteurization involves heating the juice quickly to a high temperature and then rapidly cooling it back down. Here's where science and common sense collide. Juice is essentially a party waiting to happen, for bacteria, that is. Left to its own devices, unpasteurized juice would ferment or spoil in a matter of days, unless it's kept in a fridge forever. Not the best business model. So, pasteurization is the secret weapon, keeping juice fresh and extending its shelf life without compromising too much of that fresh taste. But, as with all things, there's a trade-off. While pasteurization kills harmful bacteria, it can also slightly alter the flavor of the juice. Some companies work around this with a method called flash pasteurization, where the juice is heated for a much shorter time to minimize flavor changes while still getting rid of the bad stuff. It's like cooking, but faster and more precise. No burnt edges, just smooth, bacteria-free goodness. Concentration and reconstitution. Let's talk about juice concentrates for a minute. A lot of juice you buy from the store is actually concentrated juice, meaning the water has been removed at the factory and added back later. It sounds complicated, but it's really all about efficiency. Shipping concentrated juice saves space and money, which is why it's such a common practice. Here's how it works. Once the juice has been pasteurized, it goes through an evaporation process where most of the water is removed. What's left is a thick, syrupy juice concentrate that can be stored, shipped, or even frozen for later use. When it's time to turn that concentrate back into the drinkable stuff, water is reintroduced at just the right ratio to recreate the original juice. And before you raise an eyebrow, yes, reconstituted juice can taste almost identical to fresh. The whole process is so finely tuned that most people can't tell the difference. You've probably drunk reconstituted juice a million times without even knowing it. Fortification. Once the juice is pasteurized and either bottled or concentrated, it's time to make it even better. Enter fortification. This is where vitamins, minerals, or other nutrients get added to the mix. Most commonly, it's vitamin C, but sometimes you'll also see calcium, vitamin D, or even probiotics being added to juice. Why fortify? Well, consumers love to get that extra health boost in their morning glass of OJ, or whatever juice they prefer. And fortification turns juice from a tasty drink into a nutrient-packed powerhouse. Juice companies know this, and they're not shy about marketing it either. Fortification isn't just for show. Adding extra vitamins or minerals can help offset any nutrients lost during pasteurization and filtration, so you're still getting a drink that packs a punch. Some juices even get labeled as superfoods, thanks to these extra additives. All this fortification. Wizardry happens behind the scenes, so you'd never know that your juice was given an extra shot of health until you read the label. Packaging. Now, after all the meticulous filtering, heating, and fortifying, we're finally nearing the end of the juice's journey. But before it can make its way to grocery store shelves, it needs to be packaged. And this is where things can get pretty high-tech. First, the juice is pumped into bottling machines, where it gets funneled into individual bottles. Depending on the factory setup, this might be plastic, glass, or even cartons. The bottles are sterilized before the juice is poured in to ensure there's no contamination at the very last stage of the process. Once filled, the bottles move along conveyor belts to a capping machine where airtight seals are applied. This not only keeps the juice fresh, but also prevents any leaks or spills during shipping. The bottles are then labeled and sent through a series of quality control checks to ensure that everything from the fill level to the expiration date is accurate. The juice is now ready for the final leg of its journey, shipment to stores. But is it really over? I don't think so. Quality control factories don't leave anything to chance, especially when it comes to what people drink. At several points during the process, juice is sampled and tested for taste, acidity, sugar levels, and overall quality. This is to make sure that the final product tastes as good as it should, with just the right balance of sweetness and acidity. They also check for any contaminants or spoilage risks. No matter how big or small the factory, quality control is the name of the game. And while we're at it, let's not forget about food safety regulations. Factories have to comply with a boatload of standards to ensure that every bottle of juice that leaves their doors is safe for consumption. So, every batch is rigorously monitored from start to finish. Shipping and distribution. At last, the juice is bottled, sealed, and ready to head out the door. After quality checks give the green light, it's time for shipping and distribution. The bottled juice is packed into crates or boxes and loaded onto trucks bound for grocery stores, markets, and refrigerators everywhere. Juice factories work around the clock to ensure that products reach shelves as quickly as possible. The clock is ticking on freshness, especially for products that aren't made from concentrate. So whether it's local or global, logistics play a huge role in keeping your juice, well, juicy. And there you have it. From the grove to the glass, the process of juice production is nothing short of a marathon. The next time you're sipping your favorite fruit juice, you'll know exactly how much effort and technology went into every drop. If you found this process as fascinating as we did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Got any favorite juices or questions about the process? Drop them in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on more behind-the-scenes looks at how everyday products are made. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.